and horror stories. But H.G. Wells was put on the map as an intellectual by a book that he wrote called, the short title of it is Anticipations. But it has actually a long scholarly title that makes it sound very academic. But we call it Anticipations. And what he did in that book is sort of the opposite of what Henry George had done. He started off with an extremely boring chapter or section on how it is that towns get put together and cities get to put together and things of that sort. And it is so boring and leading nowhere that you say, well, I don't need to read this thing anymore. Let's just move on to something else that's worthwhile. But then in the second section, about a third of the way into the book, all of a sudden, the subject becomes very, very different. And that different subject is that he simply takes a direct, straightforward hold on the torch of carrying the torch for the ruling elite and what they're going to have to do to get back the power that they're entitled to have, because the middle class has become a direct and growing threat to their continued rule over the world. That, in fact, unless the ruling elite takes hold and begins to really progress in a plan to destroy the middle class completely, they would lose power forever and never be able to get it back. And so in a very direct English language, from that point on, the book continues to say, this is what we've got to do in order to destroy the middle class. We're going to have to destroy the entire society of America and Europe as well, so that the middle class can be extinguished. Otherwise, it can't be done. So we have to tear apart society completely and destroy it in order for us to get back our ruling position. And in order to summarize that quite a bit, he winds up, he provides some things that they need to do. For example, as control all publishers. For example, own the banks. For example, own the central banks that provide all the money or the currency. Control all of that. But when we get down to it, the plan was to be in a position by the year 2000. They need to learn how to poison all of the people of the abyss. That it's not a matter of simply putting them in their place. Many, many, many millions of people the world over need to be dead, need to be poisoned. And it seems to me, with that kind of language and purpose and objective, it seems to be fairly straightforward that when they said by the year 2000, in other words, 100 years out from now, we hope to be able to know how to poison the people we don't want. It's not a matter of knowing what is poison or finding a poison. And you're thinking about it, it seems to be somewhat logical that the challenge was not so much to find a poison, it was to find a way to get people to take it. And I think we can sort of leave that out there at this point as a reference to the kind of recent experience we've had in America and the world over. It's been a little past the year 2000, but we've had problems back to that time, and certainly we have them in 2020 and 2022 and so forth. So that was the book that was written by H.G. Wells, and which got him an almost immediate, well, pretty much immediate, invitation to all the palaces of Europe, the ruling elite there. But it also, in 1901, got him an immediate invitation to the White House of Theodore Roosevelt as the honored guest at a reception for him. And he came on the arm of a woman who was to become the founder of Planned Parenthood and the so-called abortion mill that we have come to experience. And when H.G. Wells left that reception in his honor, he quoted to the public that I've just met with the human demigod of whom I have dreamed. That is Theodore Roosevelt. So apparently he felt that Theodore was quite an able and energetic champion of the cause that he had just expressed in that book, Anticipations. Last time I looked, Theodore Roosevelt is still on the mountainside in the pantheon of edifices up in South Dakota.
Yeah.
And so that is the kind of history we've had now. Have our scholars, have our Harvard academic leaders told us about this? I would say they've done the opposite. They've hidden these kind of motives. They've hidden these kind of purposes. They've not spoken of this objective announced and trumpeted around the world by H.G. Wells in 1901. They haven't spoken about it at all. They've had the same kind of mysterious explanations, for example, for the crash of 1929.